I have a friend who lives in the city who is in America and took down his American frickin' flag because he was afraid of getting a brick through his car window or his window in America.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
that's where we're at right now. Hey everyone, and welcome to Patriot Crusader Mission. I am joined today by, many of you know who are fans of the program, by my amazing, beautiful wife, Lauren.
Hello, happy to be here.
It's good to have you. I had to chase her down and thump her on the back of the head and drag her down into the studio, but I'm glad she's here because she balances me very well.
Rein them in, people. Rein them in. It's a full-time job.
So we picked up a ton of subscribers from my Trump rally, little rant, 10-minute rant. And I want to speak to everyone and get everyone caught up to speed on who we are, what we do for those new people, and clear up some things because I, deleted about 200 trolls because I guess the left didn't like what I said, which of course they won't.
Surprise.
Right. So one.
Nobody.
Yeah. One, yes, I was a SEAL. I got out in 2008. Two, yes, I was a cop. I'm no longer a cop. I stopped being a cop back in 2013. So there you have it. So I'm no longer a cop. So for all you haters out there saying I should be fired from the police department, they can't fire me because I left to start my own company. Yeah. The job was going to hell and I saw it going there. And every cop who's still on the job, my heart goes out to you. I can't even imagine being a cop during these times where the enemy, the left, constantly attacks everything you do and, try to Monday morning quarterback every little decision you do. You have the right to be safe and to go home to your family. And so don't let them keep you from protecting yourself, okay? Typically what happens when we have these types of things happen, when the cops get persecuted, they're afraid to defend their own life, and it costs blue lives, and we don't want that. No. All right, what we need to do is we don't need more cop training, although more cop training is always good. Not the type of training they want to do, but, more martial arts, grappling, hands-on stuff, as well as shooting under stress, role-playing, force-on, foursome for all those trainings, right?
How to target the knee appropriately.
Yeah, or Joe Biden, shoot him in the leg. Idiot. Anyways, no, the public needs to be educated. You have a wide section of our population who thinks they can do whatever they can, whatever they want, and they're not accountable to anyone. And it happens to be the left. So, listen to cops and actually comply, and you'll live to see another day, and you can settle it in court. But most of them don't want to do that. They want to provoke the police officer to make a mistake so they can sue. That's the end of the culture. So I hope you cleared that up. So Patriot Crusader Mission is a company I started to help Christians who wanted to live a protector, guardian lifestyle, and understand that it is biblically sound, that you can be an alpha male or an alpha personality and serve as a guardian of your house, your family, your church, your community, and you don't have to be this, wimpy beta mush monster that modern churchianity preaches.
Yeah.
Right?
Certainly the perception.
Yeah. And so that's our mission, okay? But it's also for the ladies out there, too. There's a lot of women out there because of broken marriages who have become the defenders of their families and are playing catch up, of what they need to do. They're having to step out in the night when it goes bumping in the night and protect their family and assume that role.
And if I can I don't think it even has to be exclusively single moms. It's for wives.
Right.
I have to be completely on board with what you're doing as your wife, with you being the head of the family. I have to understand that role, my role, how we can play off each other. We are raising our child together, so I think it goes for single and married women as far as understanding the big picture and the mutual goal for a family.
Yeah, 100%. So worst case scenario, single mom or a kid who went off to college or, a daughter who went off to college. We have an 18-month-old daughter.
18-month-old
daughter, not 18-year-old. Thank dear Lord Jesus. I wish I could press pause and keep her in this
yes,
very fun, happy
We are dabbling in attitude land right now as a toddler.
So the other thing that we want to be able to do is kind of model a great Christian relationship in this protector lifestyle, right? We're lucky. We have a very blessed and happy, amazing relationship. And a lot of people don't have that model to look at, So we just wanted to serve as what works for us. And
sometimes what's not working and what we're working through.
We're not perfect, right?
Far from it. Yeah.
So what we wanted to do with this channel was to kind of model or, kind of show you guys what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And if it works for you, great. Yeah. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're going to show us something that will help us because we hit bumps in the road all the time. Yeah. And, the great thing about it is that we have the main thing that we have going for us is we believe in a constant stream of communication. And that's how we keep things from escalating. But anyways, I just wanted to catch everyone up on what this channel is for and all that stuff. So yes, it's going to be, working out and taking back, myself. I've got a bunch of injuries from when I was in the military. I've always battled weight even when I was in. And me getting back into fight shape is going to be part of this battle. Me, brushing up on my skills, my shooter skills, my tactical skills, my fighting skills, and going through that journey with you guys so that you can do the same thing if you want to do what I'm doing. Again, you guys may have a better way of doing it. I'm open to doing that, showing that, or I'm open to learning that. But I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. It's going to be a 90-day program. Today was day one. And for that 90-day thing, it starts off with the first person I check in with is the Lord. Right? Yeah. So I get on there. I do my daily devotional. I do the 1-year chronological Bible. And, I do those devotionals. I also often, I don't do it every day, but I also often listen to John Eldridge, Wild at Heart, with his daily prayer. It's long.
Yes.
It's almost like a 10-minute prayer, and I listen to him more than read it. But it really does cover everything, and I feel that it gets me off in a good start. I've never regretted doing it.
No.
It's hard because your mind can wander, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Because it's such a long prayer, but it's so beautiful. He writes prayers that are like, King David would be proud to read his prayers, they really are magical.
Certainly more than I can do.
Yeah. And then we hit the gym together this morning, first thing in the morning, got up in the 5-something this morning, went and worked out at 6:30 for a while. And it was great, and then it's back in working on the company and all that.
Baby B joined us at the end.
Yeah. So if you check out our Instagram, Patriot Crusader Mission Instagram, you'll get to see some of the photos and some quick vids that we integrate in there and all that stuff, as well as me. We are on social media. We're going to keep the company page on Facebook, on Instagram. We don't do Twitter. I never got into Twitter. I've got an account, but I never look at it, never do anything. And we are migrating to MeWe and Patreon, and I'm going to be sharing it across all platforms. My personal stuff, I'm going to go wherever it catches on because if no one's watching it, it's not worth it. But I want to say to our new subscribers, thank you. Yeah. We run 2 businesses. We run an active shooter and a security business, and we've been the victims of cancel culture lately, and it's been pretty rough. So, we really appreciate all of the support that we're getting on this channel.
Yes.
And, I don't mind being called all the hateful things that I'm being called. I'd rather them call me that than you. We can't be silenced. There's no one more hateful and more angry and have more the angriest, most bitter people are leftists, I swear.
Yeah.
Going to this million MAGA March, I saw, I don't know, so many people, million plus, who knows how many people were there. It was miles of people that were all patriot loving. I saw all colors, all races. Yeah. I saw signs, from every ethnic group you can imagine supporting Trump.
Well, I know they always said, the feedback from people who went to Trump rallies, especially Democrats who, wanted to go and show how terrible Trump supporters were. And they came up being like, wow, that was an incredible experience. Everyone was so polite, so respectful, so kind. Yeah. So that was all those people, from around the country who go to those rallies were what you got there at that
I
march.
think it was a little bit different of a feel, though, because everyone there was angry. The Trump voters were angry because of what's going on, right? Yes. So it wasn't this hopeful message. Yeah. It was, they were angry.
But it's still the same people. It's still the same morals.
Everyone there was polite, and if you've been following our page, you saw the picture of the guy there who had, God F all Trump supporters, and no one touched him. Mm-hmm. Everyone just ignored him and left him alone. Some people went over to try to converse with him, whatever. And it was just one of those things. Imagine a Trump supporter at a BLM and Antifa rally. Couldn't happen.
God bleep all Biden supporters. Yeah.
Even if they didn't, even if they had the most polite sign out there, they would still get beat up.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to talk about my experience at the Trump rally.
The MAGA March.
I'm sorry, the Million MAGA March.
Yeah.
One is I felt like I had to go because I wanted to exhaust all options and show my support because I do not want violence, right? I am not one of these guys chomping at the bit for civil war. I've seen civil war. It's horrible. It's hell on earth. I do not want that. So for all the trolls and the haters who are saying that we want to kill people, and all, that's not what we want. All we want is transparency, and we just want the person who won legally to win.
Yeah.
That's all we want, all right? And if you don't do that, there is a large section of society that will peel off and start doing horrible things. And we're trying to prevent that, all right? So all you Christians out there who are still supporting us, who I had intelligent conversations with you and the thing, I just want to make that clear. I am against all violence in this part, for this cause. I'm not into that. All right, I'm trying to do, and I hope and I pray that we can head it off by everyone seeing that it was free, it was fair, and then we can accept the outcome and go to the healing, whatever that is, even though I find it very rich that the left, who has been hating us for our entire existence and who has, investigated a president for 4 years plus, who has done every obstructionist thing now that they think that they won, let's all heal.
Yeah.
At the same time saying they're going to make lists with us, cancel culture, hurting our businesses, and saying that no Trump supporters should ever have a job again. Yeah. Well, what do you think happens if you do that, people? If you make people that desperate, what do they have to lose? Nothing. So what do they do? Violence. So, if you're going to preach this, we want to heal and we want to have peace, then you have to accept that we don't think the same way as you do.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you have to understand, and it should be okay. Well, I understand that you think different than I do. I respect you for that. I'm not, but I don't hate you, and I don't want to kill you and make you unemployed and drive you out of society for that. Yeah. We have to have a competition of ideas, and those ideas rise to the top.
Well, their whole now is the time for us to be united. In their mind is all of you Trump people, like you us. Come over to our camp versus, okay, let's our camps work together.
Right.
And so that's where it all breaks down, because as soon as the Trump group's like, okay, well, we still think this, and this, we don't want you anymore. Right. You're still the racist Nazis that we thought you were.
Right. So it's always coexist with Satanists and witchcraft and people who cut heads off for a living and everything else. As long as you're not a Christian conservative, right? Then you can't coexist with them because they just won't. But anyways, I just wanted to make that clear and get that out there. Now, for all you guys who are out there like, oh man, you're just going to be another one. No. I think we have to prepare for the worst, right? What does that mean? That means get in shape, get prepared, get trained, and be ready for if anything bad should happen. Mm-hmm. That bad happening could be everything from looters and riots coming down the street, your street of your house, to your wife being trained up when she's going shopping, if anything bad should happen there, or just out and about doing anything, to a large-scale conflict breaking out, and understanding that is a possibility now. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to do. So, Trump rally. So I wanted to go, but when I went, I made sure that I did it smart. All right. My heart breaks looking at all these videos of these evil Antifa BLM thugs beating up women, children, and old people.
Yeah.
Anyone. They're beating up, they beat up anyone is bad, but I'm watching them pummel and do all these horrible
they're
things.
Cowards, so of course they're going to pick on the seemingly vulnerable. But
I
was certainly nervous that you were going,
right?
Seeing everything that's gone on around the country, because I also know that you would, although you wouldn't look for a fight, you would step in if you saw something.
If I saw someone getting beat up, we would intervene.
That
yes.
And then that inevitably would bring it on yourself. So I was very happy when I got the call that you were on your way home.
Right. So, but I want to explain how I did that, right? It wasn't an accident that we didn't get into a fight or didn't get victimized. I went with dudes who thought like me. I did not go alone. I never recommend you go to one of these things alone, right? And then when we got there, we started networking with people immediately, right? Saying, hey, we're together. This is what our plans are. And then we looked at the route, right? And we stayed in the traffic with the most people like us. We didn't let them get isolated. Now, when we were at the rally, we saw, the first large-scale presence of Antifa I saw was 50-plus Antifa people all dressed up in like some type of body armor. It wasn't military body armor. It was like more like motocross body armor. They had some very expensive stuff on.
Yeah.
It was all uniform. It was all expensive, and they were all on these scooters that allowed them to travel really fast to isolate small groups, right? So 50 of them would look and find 2 people with Trump supporters, and they could get on them and do that. So that was the first scale. So they rolled up and parked immediately, like in a formation almost, right next to where a ton of Trump supporters were. And they saw, hey, that ain't going to be tolerated here. And they went off and then started targeting smaller groups.
Would you say that that's the same group of people that now we're seeing videos of kind of the end of the march?
No, because some of them, I've seen some footage of them around, but a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing now is more BLM. They're African Americans beating up, white people is what I saw, or pestering a black girl with her child and a baby in a stroller was the last one. So that was more of what I saw, and it was later at night. I'm seeing stuff happening towards the dark, which is the other thing. We went there. We heard the speakers. We didn't want to stay to the end because I knew the longer they were there that we were going to see it. And in fact, when we were on our way out, we started seeing the opposing side come in. How'd you find the opposing side? Well, they had really classy things like F this fascist, and they had pink and blue hair and whatever.
Yeah.
We still moved in a group, had a number, and they didn't want none. Didn't want to start anything because they were in small groups too.
Did you remove any of your identifying?
No, we kept
gear
everything.
At all? Okay.
Yeah, we kept everything. And then, I put my American flags in my backpack just so I wanted to have my hands free. But I kept my Second Amendment shirt on and all that stuff. So, anyways, and we picked a station that was in a direct line of sight. Union Station, which is a big famous thing, was directly in line of sight of all the cops and all that. And then we got on, and once we were in the subway, we were there. But we had plans.
Yeah.
Right?
And I saw Mike was one of the guys that went with Jason, and he shared a picture that I guess he take it of the station had stopped service to.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Typically
they really
on an event day like that, they would have increased service, but for this, they
really made it more difficult for us to get around. That's fine. The other thing is I didn't drive into the city because I knew traffic was going to be bad, and I also didn't take my truck, which has my business all over it, which obviously people are going to know what side I support. So we went and we rented a Jeep, a 4x4 at Avis Rent-A-Car. And if anything happened, that was going to get beat up. I bought the extra insurance. I wanted the 4-wheel drive, and that's what we got. All right. And we parked really far away. At Tyson's Corner, which was pretty far out of there, so that we knew that towards the end, we weren't going to be running into hordes of Antifa on the way out. The other thing that I'm noticing is a lot of people in these things is they may be in a small pack, but they're falling for some tactics that are happening. And what I'm seeing is they'll come up and they'll push, somebody who may look to be an alpha personality. The alpha personality turns around and the friends keep walking, and then they fill in behind them, right? So they get a separation, and then they isolate that person. That person is getting engaged with the instigator, and then they're sucker punching them from behind. And I'm watching this tactic happen over and over again. So if you're going to go to these things, particularly if you're going to go and then you think that there's you got to go back to back and you can't be separated, right? If someone's going to push you from behind, you got to call out to your boys that are with you. You have to turn around as a unit. You have to get back to back, and you can't let them separate you. Because what they're going to do is, like we would do in the police line, is I would grab someone and I'd throw them through the police line. The police line would close, and now they're getting dealt with 10-1.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with these black bloc tactics they're doing. So again, don't over penetrate when you go to when I say penetrate is you turn and you start going forward and that person starts backing up. They're sucking you in, right? So they can close it off, and now you're surrounded and you don't have eyes in the back of your head, and that's where you're going to get sucker punched or hit with a bike lock or a crowbar or God knows what.
Yeah.
So that's what I see a lot of these videos happening
Yeah, so certainly
time after time again.
Having that conversation with the group you're with.
It's never happening face to face, straight up. It's always I got your attention and someone's coming up and blasting you.
Yeah.
And I'm even watching. I saw a black girl watch up and blast somebody in the back of the head, and then fade off. And then what happens? The guy turns to her, or whoever the poor was. I can't remember. It was a guy. I think it was a guy. Turns to confront her. And then, pushes her off. And then she's like, oh, my God, this guy's whatever. And then everyone swarms him, and it starts there. So you can't. I know you want to fight back, and you can fight back. There is a way to fight back, but you have to fight back as a group, and you can't let them isolate. So, getting, with your back to the wall so you can't be attacked from the back when you have enough guys to fight back with. I wouldn't recommend that because you always want to leave a bolt path if you're small, right? But if you've got enough path that now you've got a place to go, typically if you got a building you can get into or something you can get in there, that's a good place to make a stand. But those are the tactics I saw and some of the things I wanted to talk about when I saw it there. If you have any other questions on how to handle, stuff in riots and crowd control, I was a former Navy SEAL for 16 years, former Boston SWAT cop. In Boston, we do riot training all the time because we used to win a lot of championships and all that stuff. So, again, I'm very familiar with being in a crowd and doing crowd tactics. So seeing that.
But was it, you're happy that you went?
I am happy that I went. I did not want to go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I had a million things to do. We just got done with our relocation move here, moving back to Virginia. A ton of work with business. I'm way behind on editing, way behind on the audio podcast. For those of you listening to the audio podcast, I'm going to start prioritizing and getting that over there because there's a lot less editing, so I apologize to you. But, it was the last thing I wanted to do, and I went there expecting to go to jail. I went there expecting, even though that I did everything right, that I was going to see someone. So one of the things we also did is if I saw someone self-isolating, so a guy and his girlfriend, she had used the bathroom, went off into this park, and I could see him kind of going there and kind of looking around. I'm like, hey, we're here if you need us. Your girl can go do her business or whatever over there. We're not coming. We're just here to watch your back to make sure that you don't get jumped. Right? And that's how we should be doing things. Because I saw all ages there, but I would say that I saw a lot of seniors there, which is surprising with COVID and everything else there, how it went. But overall, I'm so happy I went. I'm glad I went because I can now see there was no news camera. I saw one news camera there.
That's crazy. Understandable now, but crazy.
One news camera, and the story was totally suppressed when they say there was only whatever there. I've worked crowds of 1 million people. In Boston, 4th of July, festive fireworks will get 1 million people. It was as much as that. Yeah,
I mean, the pictures are incredible.
Yeah. So, and
I'm sure it must have just felt good to have been around that energy of
yeah,
people
it made
that you
you
knew
feel that
you were
alone.
supported. Yeah, I mean, because Trump supporters are all such a hated group, and so I think it's probably easy to start feeling like you might not be doing the right thing. So going to something like that probably is very encouraging.
Yeah. And then we had our second run-in with cancel culture, which really hurt. We have been working to try to get a partnership going with a company an LMS provider, and for like 2 years, it seems like it's been.
Yeah, so this is for other companies. So it was providing active shooter workplace violence training for businesses. And this is a partnership that would have taken our content onto their platform to all of their clients. So a one-to-many opportunity that would have been great for us. And yeah, as Jason said, we've been working on it for quite a
long time. And we did a lot of work. And we got a call after my Trump video went out. And they didn't want to do business with us anymore. And they treated us like we were Nazis. Like, oh, sorry. Well, you came out of the closet like you're a Nazi.
We saw some very far right content on your
and what's the far right stuff that I believe in life, that I love God, that I love my country, that I voted for Trump? Well, if that's all that stuff, well, then I'm guilty, you know. When I went into business with them, I assumed they were left, and I didn't hold that against them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the nature of the beast for us working in the corporate world. We walk a very fine line, you know, between having our personal beliefs and having Patriot Crusader Mission, which kind of expresses those beliefs much more kind of out in the open than what we did with Trident Shield, our original business. And being able to have those views and express those views in a world working with clients who we know would oppose that and who likely wouldn't work with us, knowing that. So it's that balance, but you can't feel like it's wrong to express your beliefs the way that we are. It's cancel culture is real, and it's a very unfortunate thing because it is ruining people's livelihoods.
Yeah, I mean, and then all you do is create a bunch of desperate people who, you know, do horrible things because they've got nothing else.
Yeah, and I mean, we had this conversation a little bit last night on the where do we then go and cancel culture them? You know, of people asking kind of who is that company who did this to you? And it's like, do we share that so that then they can go get that hate and they can get people who don't want to support them now? I don't know. Like, what is the right back and forth on that? Is that what's fair for it to go both ways, or do we say we don't like this and we don't want to perpetuate it? I don't know what the right thing is there. I'm not good at the this whole back and forth.
Yeah, you know, I'm just going to pray on it for a while because it sucks. But if you don't fight back, then only one side suffers.
Yeah, and
you know.
So where is the? I'm a not very biblically educated Christian as far as I would think that Jesus would say, don't, you know, I mean, don't retaliate in that way, but maybe you could find something in there that says that
it's a
you're
tough one
okay
to
do
swallow.
it.
You know, it's a tough one to swallow. So
the rise above.
Yeah. So
the problem is when no one else is rising above.
Yeah.
That's where things fall apart.
So, but you know, anyways, you know, Lauren came up with a great idea of this conservative. What'd you call it?
A conservative dating site for businesses.
It's not really dating though, so.
Well, I mean, like all your dating apps, you know, the farmer seeking a farmer, you know, that they have specialty groups for dating apps and sites now. And
Christian conservative looking to do business with other.
So yeah, we're vendors, or you know, this is a service I provide, and this is a service I'm looking for, and you can go and you can know that you have compatible beliefs and that you can be out and proud about it and still be supported.
Yeah.
But
go out to lunch and you can pray.
Yeah. For a business, yeah. So, I don't know. I thought it was a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. You know, maybe there's one out there that
maybe
we need
there
to
is.
find.
If you know one, let us know.
Yeah.
And if you're an app builder, give me credit.
So, you know, what are some other things we wanted to talk about?
Well, I mean, if do we want to talk more about the
challenge,
our new plan, kind of going forward? You know, so we're starting up. We've started several times, and hopefully this is the one that sticks. The Getting Through the Bible in 1 Year app. You know, there's multiple to choose from. Jason picked the chronological Bible one, and that's coinciding with us also starting a new exercise initiative. And to me, I've been thinking about it, and there are a lot of parallels for me in my experience on changing a pattern or establishing a new routine with reading the Bible at the same time, as it's the same experience as trying to change patterns and establish a new routine with exercise. It's so easy for either one to say, today got away from me, I'll start it tomorrow.
Right.
It's what you said. You never feel bad after you take time to read the Bible.
Yep.
And I think people say the same thing about working out. And so I'm finding that the experiences are very similar, and trying to start and be better about both. And I find that they support each other. So on the mornings that I know I'm having to get up early to exercise, that's also the morning that I have time to read the Bible before B gets up. Because if I'm not going to get up and exercise early, then usually we get up around the same time as baby B, and so then I don't have time for the Bible either. So they are feeding off each other really nicely.
Well, that's great.
And
you need something to do while you're drinking your coffee.
Yeah, so I think they're both very healthy lifestyle changes, and I'm finding that I'm having an easier time sticking with both of them because I'm doing both versus trying one or the other.
So the main thing that we want to say about the 90-day, boot camp, whatever you want to call it, is that you don't have to start at the same time as we do. If you want to start it later, it's just something that we're doing, to take back our life and to be the better people that we want to be. To be that person that is everything that I consider a good, strong, Christian man, husband, father, brother, protector. And then for you, I'm sure it's your own, you have your own reasons for it. But you can, whether you find this in a month or 2 months or 6 months or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're going to document everything on the Patriot Crusader Mission website that's getting finalized now. It's all going to start on the Patreon page or continue on the Patreon page.
Which link will be
down
here.
Down there somewhere. For all of our Patreon subscribers and supporters, thank you so much. You guys have no idea how much it helps. Every little bit helps. Whether
buying
it's
the
$5,
merchandise
$10,
helps.
Buying merchandise helps.
Nice little
For those
hat.
of you guys who saw our video and immediately bought gear, really appreciate that. It's winter, so I've got our new wool cap on, which I love, and got a lot of compliments at the parade, the march. So again, we all got to start somewhere. We started it. We actually started this initiative about 10 days ago, and my back blew out, from the move. And it's something that was really impossible for me to continue with until I healed up. And I just stayed mobile, did what I could. And now here we are, trying to get that on. So I'm going to do a video describing where I'm at with my body, where I'm at with injuries, mindset, all that stuff. And I'll also do a video on, not only my testimony, but where I'm at in my walk with Christ right now. And then Lauren's going to do one.
I don't like talking about myself, but I guess I'm doing one.
So with that's all I'll say about that. We really appreciate your support on the Patreon page. And of course, if you want to, that'll be in the description as well. Really appreciate it, a lot. As far as all the coverage from the parade, from the march, and where we stand on the election right now, let's get into that. I just saw, I see a lot of people saying, F Fox News and all that stuff, and I understand why you're doing it, because there are some people, election night, really, they did a really terrible job, and I'll never trust them for election night until they prove otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and then Sandra Smith,
Sandra
little leaked
Smith.
video
I never liked
behind
her,
the
and
scenes and stuff of her rolling her eyes at a guest who's talking about contesting the election and things like that.
And then Chris Wallace.
Yes,
Chris Wallace, I can't stand. I couldn't stand Shepard Smith. Juan Williams, I think, is a complete idiot. And others. Yeah. But they do have a good core on there. Maria Bartiromo and Tucker Carlson are the two best on the channel, in my opinion. Martha, I think, is fair. for the most part, even though she was a part of that coverage that night,
Yeah.
which kind of soiled her and Brett Baer,
Yeah,
in
they're
my
being lumped
opinion,
on there.
that they were a part of that. Now, I know they weren't the calling desk,
Yeah.
but they soiled their reputations that night.
Yeah.
And then, so whatever. Fox and Friends in the morning, I still find them, whatever, but I have noticed them soften their language.
Sure.
Everyone except for Tucker and Maria has softened their language. Lou Dobbs on the Fox Business Channel is also good. So, before, everyone's like, hey, we need to get Tucker off Fox News on another channel. And I had to say, just stop. Just stop. Fox News is the most watched channel in history. It's bleeding viewers. You want Tucker on there as the most watched show on cable, speaking truth so people get it.
Yes.
Because guess what? Anybody who's in the middle is not going to go to, Newsmax or One America News Network. They're not. And I don't want to listen to cheerleaders for our president. Yes, there are times where I want somebody like Tucker. If Trump did something wrong, Tucker's going to call him on it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be brainwashed by people on my own channel, right? Yes, I'm watching Newsmax right now because I want to hear the true coverage of the stuff. But I also don't want him to kiss the president's butt either.
Yeah.
If he does something wrong, I don't want to feel like I'm being propagandized by the right.
Sure. And I think as long as you can at least recognize, Sean Hannity and stuff, you're like, he is all
right. Sean Hannity,
I like as far as how supportive he is, and so you can recognize that he's really not going to say anything that's critical,
right?
Even if there is stuff out there. Right. So as long as you can step back and see it.
I would love to be Sean Hannity's friend. I'd love to hang out with him. I think I have a lot in common with him. Whatever. But at the same time, I've never learned anything on his show. Mm-hmm. It's just really cheerleading. And that's why I like going to Tucker, because Tucker is going to call them as they see it. He'll be critical when they're there, and that's really why I like that. Laura Ingraham, I like her as well. It's just later in the day, later in the evening. I don't have time.
She's more of a cheerleader than...
Yeah, and she's also, more of a cheerleader in that aspect. But, when I am down and I wanted my views bolstered, I turn into those programs.
Yeah.
My point with Fox, with Brett Baer, was I didn't know how he voted. He was such a straight down the middle guy. I felt like I could trust him, and that election coverage really soiled that. I've also been looking at Breitbart more for information. Mm-hmm. I've been looking at, Newsmax. Newsmax, your website is terrible. Mm. Their website's absolutely terrible. I wish they would straighten that out. And then there was the Epoch Times. I'm probably destroying the way you say it.
What are you finding? How are you enjoying the experience with MeWe and Parler? I know you're not on Parler as much.
Yeah, so I've been doing them. MeWe, so there's a great list that I want to put out for conservatives. People,
like what equals what?
What equals what? I saw a picture out there and I thought it was a great idea. So Parler is like Twitter, but it's owned by conservatives and funded by conservatives. What I found was disgusting was the amount of disinformation that Google and Facebook and all these trolls out there were doing to try to crush these new technologies coming out and these new companies. So, I like MeWe. MeWe is just like Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a much better, it's a good experience.
Yes.
And I like it. And everyone's like, oh, it's owned by Soros and all this garbage. And it is owned by a liberal. Is he an old classic liberal? I can get along with an old classic liberal.
But it is owned by a liberal.
Yeah, it is owned by, it was developed by a liberal from that
Silicon
place,
Valley,
Silicon Valley, but he's a free speech liberal. So as long as he doesn't pull any garbage on us, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
the classic liberals were for free speech above anything. The right was the one who typically wanted to censor foul language and everything else.
Yeah.
Historically, if you go back into the 80s.
Well, they have been hugely bolstered in the last week to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So they would be incredibly stupid if all of a sudden they stepped on that.
And there's others. There's Cloud Hub. There is another one that I'm just starting play with is Wimkin, Wimkin, which is more like a Facebook as well. And then using DuckDuckGo as my browser. And then I have another browser called Brave that is going to replace my Chrome.
Oh, okay.
Right? So again, there's a list of stuff out there that I'm doing. But if you really want to leave Facebook, I believe MeWe is the best I've seen so far. That doesn't mean there's not going to be a better one out there, but it only works if we all go. Or else you're just talking to 10 people or 50 people or whatever. So I know they're exploding, and Parler is fine. But the problem with Parler when you're a business owner is there's no business pages. So you only get one profile.
Yeah.
And one profile per phone. Right? So I can't be Patriot Crusader Mission there or Jay Perry. I have to be Patriot Crusader Mission. Right? Whereas in Parler, I can have multiple pages. And,
Not in Parler.
Not Parler, I'm sorry. MeWe, I can have multiple pages and all that stuff. So again, you know, there is a way that we're going to have to start living under the radar if Trump loses this. I don't believe he's going to. I believe that Trump is going to be there legally, whether from the vote.
So let's circle around to that. So you were starting to talk about kind of how you got off into your, do we like Fox or not like Fox? There was the Maria Bartiromo interview yesterday on her show on Sunday morning with Sidney Powell, who's one of the
she was Michael Flynn's attorney first.
Okay, so she's primary attorneys for the Trump campaign right now with everything that's going on. And she came on, it was about a 10-minute interview.
It was amazing.
And yeah, just saying she can't, the whole thing kind of that's going against this movement right now is, they haven't really come up with actually concrete evidence. It's like they can't share it. You know, that's going to court. So she was making some very profound, significant, concrete allegations and kind of predictions about what's going to happen. She could not support it with concrete evidence on a news show that had to stay kind of quiet for court. But she's like, I would not say anything that I cannot back up. You can take her at her word or not, but it was an incredible interview and certainly encouraging if you are in that camp.
The other one was the one on the Howie Carr show,
which is another Lynn Wood, right?
Yeah,
Lynn Wood.
I think
similar in sentiment to there's a lot of stuff lined up as far as evidence. Can't share specifics, but it's hundreds of thousands. She said Sidney Powell is like up millions of votes that potentially were switched. And so one of the biggest things that's at the center of this is that software, the Dominion program that was used in multiple states that they're showing was very hackable and likely was hacked, and that they can literally flip votes as they were coming in from Trump to Biden.
So, you know, there's a lot there. I mean, anybody who doesn't want this investigated right now, I don't think is fair-minded. I mean, let's just investigate and find out. And if Biden wins at the end of it, well, then we need to do a better job of messaging and everything else, and you know, and start fighting the battles in the schools where with the brainwashing of our children starts, and you know, in media and social media, and maybe with these new platforms, we have a place where Facebook, the week before an election, can't kill stories.
Yeah, but do not fall. There's a lot of talking points. Republicans are coming out. The weak Republicans, you know, saying that Trump is doing such a disservice to democracy right now.
Deep state trolls.
And people will never take the election seriously based on what he's doing. And it's all based on lies and yada, yada. Do not believe that. Do not believe what the media is saying right now, that Biden is the elected president. Stay strong in your beliefs. Don't falter in that.
Believe your eyes and believe your ears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because what you're seeing out there, there's enough. Put it this way: if somebody was going to get a death sentence, and the Dominion story came out, and you know that 40 of the witnesses were tampered with or done whatever, that would be reasonable doubt to get that case thrown out right there, right? So we have to go into this, and we have to investigate all these leads, and we have to see where it goes. And you know, some of it, you know, I heard Ben Shapiro saying, you know, there's no harm if we investigate this, that there needs to be, you know, at the same time, you know, if it's not there, it's not there, and we need to start seeing some evidence. The courts need to start seeing evidence.
Yes.
And then after the court,
we're not entitled to see it prior to the legal proceedings. I think it gets it's harder because the public right now, we're being fed things that we can't verify what's true, what's not true. And so the same way right now that the left is being told by the media that Biden is definitely the next president, a lot of people on the right are being fed the belief that Trump is definitely going to still be president.
Yeah.
And that's also, while I believe that is more likely than not, that is just as dangerous, that if it does come out that they do these legal proceedings and Biden still was elected president, now we have a huge population on the right side who's not going to believe it the same way that the left isn't going to believe it if Trump is still.
That's
so
it's really dangerous.
Either way, I mean, I know that they're saying like that this whole Civil War thing and that J.P. Sears video of what's going to lead to a civil war, and it's because the media is so all in on this messaging that Biden is president, and so they won't accept it if Trump actually is. That could go either way, and either way, the result is that one huge population in the country is not going to accept or believe the result.
Yeah, and it really, again, as I've said in countless videos, but I'll say it again, when they go look back in history at this time, and if this is the downfall of America or not, if we're about to enter the brightest part of America, regardless, the people who failed were the media. Like the monetization and the corruption of the media and then social media, right? But I think the social media story has got multiple legs. Trump would be not elected if it wasn't for Twitter.
Yes, it worked in his favor just as much.
And the more they try to kill a story on social media, the more it seems to get legs and more people want to see it and be like, why is this being censored?
They reached the tipping point on that, I think. Before they were a little bit more subtle in what they would censor, or it wasn't as big of a volume of people.
Everyone's been censored now.
And so now it's just like, okay, we know it's going to happen. And I mean, even people are putting it in videos. We know this is going to be censored, so I think people know it's going to happen, and they're not going to accept it anymore.
Yeah. Obviously, I think we need to fix we need to work on our messaging and getting our message out there for these elections, because we're countering all the news agencies, right? If you look at, we have family members who vote Democrat. We have, that we're surrounded by them, right? Everyone's not stupid, right? Yeah. They're all being misinformed. And we have to find a way, either to discredit the media to such a point that even that reasonable people can sit there and say, wow, I'm being propagandized, and how dare they do that?
It's so hard right now. There's not even really a single source where you can go, where either side could go to a mutual trusted source to say, that's the fact. This is the opinion that we're being told on the news, but that is the fact. Yeah. And we can't even go to that anymore.
Well, and that's why I'm really, kind of bummed that everyone's screaming F Fox News on that, because, Fox had been our place to go, and I'm okay if they say things that I don't agree with. I don't think they should be blasted out of existence, because if they can suck in some of the left viewerships, they're going to get red-pilled at some point. They're going to be like, wow, where the heck was all this? And yeah, I agree with that, but I mean, if Fox was 25% liberal garbage,
you still get 75%. A lot more factoids anyways. Yeah.
Well, my problem was their news desk, right? Like their news desk was the one that screwed it up.
Yeah.
Right? Again, your news desk can't be opinion pieces. So Sandra Smith, she should be fired tomorrow. Like, she's lost all credibility.
Not going to happen.
I know it won't. I don't know why, but she should be gone. Others should be gone. If you lose your credibility as a news person, you can't get it back. It's hard to get it back.
That's no longer the important part, unfortunately, for you to have that.
It should be, and if they want to be, they need to do an inquisition over there, and they need to do a massive apology and say, listen, we're going to report the facts, right? We're not going to speculate. Like, this calling stuff before anyone and being in a race to call states is ridiculous.
Yes.
Let the people vote, and then we'll count them, and then sit there and say what this could mean and hypothesize, but report on what you're seeing exit polls, no one's going to ever tell anyone the truth ever again. When you have government people in government like AOC and these other turds out there saying they're building lists of people that they're going to persecute after they're elected because they disagree with them politically, I mean, who's ever going to tell anyone the truth again?
Yeah.
You know, I have a friend who lives in the city who is in America and took down his American frickin' flag because he was afraid of getting a brick through his car window or his window in America.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
that's where we're at right now. And I told him he was a coward for doing that. You can't take down your American flag. You got to move and go somewhere where you can, or you got to fight that fight there and accept that.
Yeah.
You know, and he's still my friend because we love each other and we think we're screwing up. We tell one another. That's part of being this Christian brotherhood and sisterhood that we're at. We lock shields with someone. If someone's got to get their shield up and it's low because it's making me vulnerable on my right or my left side, I got to tell him that and him the same way, right? And that's what we want this channel to be to hold each other accountable. That's what we want. The 90-day challenge, which will turn into a 6-month challenge, which will hopefully be a lifestyle for all of us. Yeah. That if we're screwing up, we can sit there and tell us. Now, do it in a good way. Mm-hmm. Don't come at them the most caustic, aggressive, over-the-top, insulting way that you possibly can to make sure you offend so they don't even hear your message. You got to have a relationship with that person to be able to get that message through. And say, listen, brother, I've got a truth to tell you if you want to hear it. If you don't want to hear it, fine. But I got something to tell you. And then try to say it the best way you can that you think they'll take it on board and process it.
How would you take it? How would you process it?
Yeah. You know,
if you want to wrap up any of your election thoughts. So we're, we a lot of these interviews are coming out. There was also the one about another thing about the Dominion software, that other interview, the Marie Malkin.
Oh, Michelle Malkin.
Michelle Malkin's
had a gentleman
interview.
on there that was amazing.
So it's out there. If you want to go and educate yourself, outside of what you're getting in little snippets on the news, these longer form interviews with people who are more behind the scenes and doing the research and who have concrete evidence, educate yourself and you'll feel a lot better. But so say all of this stuff lines up and say that the courts come through on this and all of this evidence stacks up in a way that there is no way that anyone can trust the outcome of this election. What do you believe and or understand is going to happen next?
Well, I'm not a constitutional scholar. I've been doing my research on this. And the one that most people think, and I've heard multiple scenarios, but the one that most people think is if there's no confidence in the election and then the Electoral College is out, right? Then if they can't certify the states and it's a contested election, then it goes to the House of Representatives and everyone's like, oh my God, Nancy Pelosi. No, this has happened twice before, right? And I think it happened in 1800 and like 1825 or something like that. So it happened twice in the same century where it literally goes to the states and each state gets one vote. And there's more Republican states than there are Democrat states. So Trump theoretically would stay in power with them all getting to cast a vote.
And so I've heard that, and I'm not. It's so hard to understand kind of which scenario, which thing is saying that they're solving to know kind of what's right. I've also heard a slightly different version of what happens with the House and the Senate, in that the House would pick the president and the Senate would pick the vice president. And I don't know if that has any legs to it, because then you would get a Biden-Trump ticket. I heard someone was throwing this thing out there. Okay, so this happens that Biden becomes president, Trump is vice president, Biden declines in the way that everyone's expecting him to decline, and Trump becomes president again because everyone thinks that Harris is going to become actually president if Biden, So I don't know if there any piece of that is true.
I don't know if anyone else knows the answer to that. I'd love to hear.
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
I haven't heard that scenario yet, but I mean,
I know that you've also wondered whether we'd have the whole election again. There's nothing that you've heard. I
haven't heard anyone talk about a do-over on the election, which, that's me and with my simple mind. I think a week-long in-person election where you literally, I think going through from now on in the future, I think a week-long photo ID required election in person is required, right? You give them 5 business days and you keep the polls open 24/7, and it has to be trackable, and it has to be, all that. And I think that is the only way we're going to trust this ever again.
Yeah. No matter which way of this it goes. So if they show that the results cannot be trusted, and that there has to be some sort of do-over or reselection process, by saying that it can't be trusted, to me, that also is saying that Biden did something hinky, and how can he even stay on the ticket as an eligible candidate?
Something what?
Hinky.
What is hinky? What the heck is hinky?
Funky.
I haven't heard that word before. Hinky? Is like a hickey?
It's no, it's not like a hickey. Is that a Mainism? I've not heard that word, and has no one else heard that word.
Something underhanded?
Sure. Oh, gracious. Anyways, the point being, how can Biden even still be eligible to be chosen?
I think if they can prove that he was in on it and he knew that that was the case, then he couldn't be. Mm-hmm. He would be disqualified, in my opinion. But I don't know. There's a lot of people in California.
And then who comes? I mean, is there not? Is it Harris? Is it
well, I'm sure she would know. I mean, other than it would be a forfeit election, I don't know. Either way, you're going to have a bunch of people that are going to be really pissed off, which gets back to my point of preparation. People, 90 days of food, get it, put it in your house. You need to have 90 days of food. That's like 30 is the basic. I know it's expensive. 90 days of food in your house. So if truckers go on strike for Trump or any of this stuff happens, that you don't have to go out into it, right? Make sure you have your firearms. Make sure that they work. Make sure that you service them and they're well maintained. Make sure they're sighted in. Make sure your red dots have batteries. Make sure you have a plan with your family. Make sure that it makes sense. If you're in the cities, you're going to
get out of the cities.
You get out of the cities because the cities are going to, if Trump stays in office, the Democrats are going to burn every city down. I don't mean literally burn down, but there's going to be looting and riots and everything else. If you're an obvious conservative like ourselves, I wouldn't be surprised if they vandalize or try to do something to us. So be prepared. They're going to have quite the surprise if they want to come here and cause trouble. So, but just understand that there's a lot to this. We'll continue to do more as we do this. And guide you in the right way. And I'm not going to just sit there and say, hey, I'm an expert on anything. I'm going to point you in the right direction. Yeah. So obviously on Wednesday, Ken Graves is my biblical expert. He's my mentor, and he's going to be on here to help you with that challenge. And then we'll bring in other people, Greg Degnan when we need a medical professional beyond, my medical training, and so on and so forth. So, there's some great things out there. American Contingency is a great place where you can plug in with other people, to kind of join forces. So we'll get to all that. I'll wrap this up with this. I'll pray us out, and then we'll get out of here. Mm-hmm. Dear Lord, we come to you now. We ask that you heal this great nation. We also ask that you expose any corruption that's out there, Lord. We ask that you bring it to light so that all can see, and that justice be done. Whichever way it is, let justice be done, and then heal this nation, Lord. I ask you to protect our president, Lord, and our first responders and our troops, and then I ask you to continue to bless us and to help us reach more people out there. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much.